Hey guys, so today it's going to be a really quick video because I'm only talking about a camera cage. We are not sponsored today. SmallRig did not send us the cage, and we bought the FX30 with our own money and also the SmallRig cage for the FX30 and FX3 with our own money. So not a sponsored video. They did not send us the product. But I really want to talk about this because this is one of the best cages out there for the FX30, and the reasons why we picked this over the other cages, let's say Tilta, or I think there's another one, SmallRig, and a couple of other brands. But this is the one that we picked, and I will tell you guys the reasons and some of the things that we don't really enjoy with this cage. But I'll show you guys or talk to you guys about them later. I'm just going to quickly assemble the cage and let's do it. Oh, by the way, before I assemble the cage, you get the cage when you purchase this SmallRig cage. You get the cage itself, you get a top plate for the top part of the FX30 or FX3 because you can get the XLR handle for these cameras. But if you don't use it, you can attach a top plate so you can attach other stuff on top. And you have 2 extra screws for the side of the cage to mount onto the camera so the cage is not going to drift. And you also have this tiny little magnetic key that you can attach to the bottom of the cage like this, so you can take on and off the cage when you're on the go. I personally don't take the cage on and off, so I don't know about you guys. And it also comes with a HDMI cable clamp to put on the side of the cage like this, so you can clamp onto the HDMI cable when you have a HDMI cable attached to the camera, so it's a little bit more secure. So now I'm just going to quickly assemble it. After I assemble the cage or put the cage on the camera, we'll talk about it. All right, so this is how it looks like when the SmallRig cage is on the FX30 or FX3 because they share the same body, I mean the camera. And to be honest with you, it's quite heavy. With the battery inside but not a lens, but with the whole cage on with the top plate and also the HDMI clamp on the side, it's actually surprisingly heavy for some reason. But anyway, let's talk about the things that we don't like about this cage. At least personally, a personal preference we don't really like. The first thing, a lot of people actually mentioned it in the Amazon review. I don't really like the new design. You can see that it's all scratched up. I don't know if this is something that they are going to start doing from now on. I would say, like, please don't, if SmallRig is watching this video, because I think this is like a distressed look. So it makes it like, oh, tougher, or like it makes it look like the camera has been through like a lot. But this is a brand new camera, and I don't want to have a cage that looks like it's been used like for 50 years. Everywhere it's scratched up. And I know this is a design choice, even the bottom, but the main reason is because it doesn't really make the camera look any cooler, even if it looks used. And also, when you are trying to sell the entire setup later in the future, you will have to explain to the buyer that you did not scratch the cage purposely, at least not you, and the camera look really beat up if they see this cage. So that's a really big problem, I think, to a lot of people when they're buying a used camera. So I don't know, like, I don't really like the design. And also there's one spot right here on the right hand side where the screw it's going into the camera. I don't know why they make it red. That's another confusing part of this cage. But overall, we really like this cage because of the following reasons. So the first thing we don't really like is the distress look. I almost forgot to mention, I also am not a big fan of the new cold shoe kind of design for cages. They used to be flat on the top or even on the side of the center a little bit. That's totally fine, but why is it slanted? Why do they make slanted cold shoe like this? I don't know. Of course, for the FX3, if you have the XLR handle, then you need this part to be available in the center. I can kind of get that, but why don't you give us a cold shoe here? It's okay, like, just give us a cold shoe so I can mount the monitor on top of here instead of like if I mount a monitor using this cold shoe mount right here, it's going to be slanted. And if it's like light, it's going to be slanted. The only thing that is not going to be affected with a slanted cold shoe is a microphone. So I really don't understand. I think Tilta makes this cage, or at least the top plate, with cold shoe at the top, because if you have the plate at the top, then that means you're not using the XLR handle. So why don't they give us the cold shoe at the top? I know this is a NATO rail. Yes, you can attach a handle at the top like this with the area locking pins, so the handle is not going to drift. I can totally understand that, but there are cold shoe top handles too. So please, in the future, don't do the slanted thing, and please give us the option, at least give us the option to choose like a regular color. I know Tilta had a cage or the color scheme called tactical something, but then at least it doesn't look like it's used. But now it's brand new, but it looks used, like really used. Anyway, let's talk about some of the reasons why we picked this cage over the other brands. For example, Tilta. The main thing is this part right here. You see this battery door? Sony somehow decided or designed the battery door to open that way, so it flips inward. So what happened is, if you have a cage that shapes just like the handle or the grip, when you open this door, it's going to be blocked, so it's not going to open up completely. But SmallRig did a really smart design. This thing right here is a hinge where you can actually open up like this, at least for now, so that the battery door can be opened easily. So you can see that the battery door is now open, and you close it and then close the hinge, and it's magnetic, by the way, and this part is really tight, so you don't have to worry about this thing flapping around. With the other brand name cages for the FX30, or even like for other cameras, let's say the A7 IV that we have, and also like A7 R5, I assume, but I don't have that camera. They made this specifically for the FX3 and FX30, that this part of the Tilta cage is sticking out. So it's more like a square instead of this like slanted design. It's like square. So this thing is sticking out. The only problem is you're not going to block the battery door with that design, but when you're gripping the camera, you can see that my pinky is there. So if you get the other cages, that means your pinky is kind of having to wrap around that sticking out part if it's like sticking out this way. So that's why it's not going to feel good. You have to cramp your fingers like this at the top, because you have to rest your pinky on that thing sticking out. But with the SmallRig cage, you can really tightly grab onto it. I have a really small hand, but I still prefer having this extra part for my pinky to grip on. If you have bigger hands than mine, then you definitely prefer this more than that. So this is the main reason. The second main reason is because this cage is really slim. I believe the other cages are quite thick. By looking at the pictures, we don't have them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can see that this is really slick. It's like a glove fitting onto the camera, so it doesn't feel like it's gonna like jab your finger or your hand when you're holding onto the camera and operating the camera. So this is really important to us ergonomically, because if you're going to hold onto the camera for the entire day, you want something that feels good in your hand. So the pinky thing and the thinness of this cage. Of course, they have multiple mounting points. You can take a look at the pictures online. You will see all the mounting points and mounting options. I'm not going to talk about them. And again, they have the HDMI clamp right here. You can just close it when you have the HDMI cable there. I personally don't use clamps like this, because if I am using an external monitor with an HDMI cable sticking out, usually my camera is on a gimbal or like a tripod, so it's not like, at least I'm not going to bump into that part. But this is good. This is included, this thing. Talking about flying the camera on a gimbal, another really important thing, I believe other cages do that too, or do this too, is to have an Arca Swiss plate at the bottom. So this is built in. This is an Arca Swiss plate, and I can just slide this cage in to my DJI RS2, RS3, RS3 Pro without having to attach the DJI plate, because that plate is really annoying. First, you have to attach it, and also it drifts. So sometimes your camera will just shift without you even knowing. So having a built-in Arca Swiss plate at the bottom is really important. It even says for, I don't know if you can see it, it says for DJI RS2 or C2. Yeah, I think the cage was made before the RS3 and RS3 Pro. Anyway, this is really important. I have the base plate for my Aceman 4, and we love it because we can just slide it into the Manfrotto plate of the DJI RS2 and just set it up like without having to fiddle with the base plate that comes with the DJI. Overall, this cage is really nicely done. A lot of mounting points, as I said, and NATO rails on the side and the top, so you can mount like a side handle or top handle. But the only thing again is the look, and it's quite heavy for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe the camera is heavy, but I don't know. It feels quite heavy already. Maybe if I start attaching the lens, I will actually get how it feels. So everything works fine. The screen flips out without any problem, just like that. No problem at all. I think I really like this cage. I might have to find a way to maybe paint it so it doesn't look that old. And yeah, this is the SmallRig cage for the FX3 and FX30. And this is just a really quick review because we're not sent with the cage from SmallRig, and this is not sponsored. I'm just telling you guys why we like this cage. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you are rocking another cage or other brand name cage, definitely let us know. If you want us to review it, let us know in the comment section below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.